Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on wherever you may be, wrestling fans. I am Tom Colohue, and you are joining me for today's Roman Reigns show, which is the WWE SmackDown Preview here on my channel. You have either joined me on YouTube or on Twitch. Now, finally, I've worked out how to actually record the broadcast so that you can watch it on Twitch as well. That is an achievement for me. I did not realize how bad I was at technology until now. It's a surprise to me too. Quickly, I'm going to send a tweet out saying where I am. Hang on, I've got audio issues. I've got a repeat of myself. Sorted. Okay, audio issues notwithstanding, I always have the YouTube open. I'm quickly going to send out a tweet saying where I am so that people can join me. Live now. Live now. Okay. Easy. Hey Manny, welcome. Glad to see you here. What have I got for you today? I've got a bit of news that I want to get through just first. And that will give people a bit of time to filter in and start asking their questions. So one of the things that's popped up recently is Mattel have released a new range of WWE toys, and Goldberg's getting one. The more interesting thing for me here was not Goldberg, because Goldberg is always going to get the toys, but Rhea Ripley has one. I remember a time when 3 of the 4 horsewomen got the Mattel toys, and that was a big deal at the time. Right now, it's not a big deal when Rhea Ripley in NXT gets one. So I'm really happy at the progress being made there. I also may talk a little bit more about The Undertaker and his comments on the Joe Rogan podcast recently. The Undertaker liked it when men were men and carried guns and knives and the like, instead of looking pretty or playing video games. That's a bit par for the course with The Undertaker recently. We've learned a lot about him, and not all of it has been positive news. Personally, I always thought he was a bit of a metrosexual, but apparently I'm wrong. The tights and the long hair just didn't do it for him. And there he is playing video games in the advertisement, same as anyone. One of the big pieces of news is a report from WrestleVotes, reporting that the WWE might be making last-minute changes to their planned WrestleMania matches to add some big names now that they've decided it's going to be 2 nights. Cena and Goldberg are apparently likely to appear, with The Undertaker undetermined. As I've said many times in the past, all that the WWE need to do to unretire The Undertaker is have Vince McMahon make a phone call. It'll be that simple. The Rock, however, seems unlikely to attend. I know he's been rumoured for pretty much the entirety of time, but at the minute, seems unlikely. We have 2 debuts tonight. Elena Black and Priscilla Kelly, now known as Cora Jade and Gigi Dolan, will be debuting tonight on 205 Live, interestingly, right after SmackDown as part of the Women's Dusty Classic. It is possible that they're just there to fill a spot. There are rumours about this, but I personally consider this unlikely. I don't understand why the WWE would announce them as having signed at all if they're just going to let them go again immediately. And one final note before I get to your questions and the SmackDown preview, Jon Moxley recently revealed he's keeping his options open to a WWE return, which is smart. Never burn all your bridges. His contract with AEW apparently only runs until May 2022, and he hasn't signed a new one just yet, so it's just over a year to go. Personally, I can't see him leaving the company, given that he's been their top guy since the second he debuted, but if he came in and said, I never want to go to WWE, it might mean that he gets a lot less money in the offer from AEW because the big boy who'll pay you a lot isn't in the running anymore. So it's very clever to do that. I'm going to go through a few of your comments and questions. Please do keep asking, keep saying hi, and remember to click like on the video. That does me a lot of favors and helps me grow. So Manny says hi. Hey, Manny. Michael Latina is here. How's it going? It's going really, really well. The Twitch launch is going pretty good. I'm getting a lot of the guests that I want for the Royal Rumble watch along, which is going to be like 7 hours. So that's going to be arduous. But yeah, things are going really, really well. If you just follow on YouTube, you might have missed some of the gaming content I'm doing over on Twitch. And that is helping me slowly grow. So bit by bit. Pardon me. Manny has said he's not a fan of spoilers, but Drew McIntyre is back for the Indian special show. If you've been watching these Raw and SmackDown previews, I did say pretty much immediately Drew McIntyre will be back for the Go Home show for Raw, which is this coming Monday. It was always a case that he would take 2 weeks off and then return. So it's not really a spoiler, but it's nice to hear that he will be in the Indian special show. Quite a lot of big names will be. Riju Dasgupta over at Sports Kida, where I formerly worked, has an interview with Drew McIntyre where he asked him a lot of questions about that, I'm sure. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. Sean Garner says, does Taya Valkyrie join WWE or AEW? I don't know. I think she may re-sign with Impact, to be completely honest. But at the minute, given where John Morrison is, I think it's more likely they'll find room for her in WWE. Austin Palmeter, welcome, says, I wonder about Brock. Brock is certainly someone who they're going to want at WrestleMania. They will be offering him some money and he'll be charging a lot of money. But the fact that they can have fans back now, they will have fans for WrestleMania spread out, as it were. But the intention is to continue with fans, to have fans keep going. That's what the WWE clearly wants. So they'll be able to afford Brock Lesnar again. Although, to be fair, they were able to afford Brock Lesnar the whole time. The whole time. Michael Latina asks a very strong question. 205 Live has a women's division. Yes, apparently they do. Although it's only for the Dusty Classic at the moment. I don't expect we're going to see many other women there. It'll still be the same 205 Live, but as with many things, they are trying to get more viewership there, and 2 hours is apparently not enough for NXT. There is a question I want to ask all of you. Do you think the second hour has helped NXT or hurt NXT? Please let me know in the comments. Noob says, hello, Mr. Colohue. Hello, Noob. Glad to see you. I like that you always pop in and say hi, even if you don't stay long. I always appreciate that. John Garner says, what rumored signing are you talking about, and when do we see Ronda Rousey? I'm not sure what you mean by rumored signing. If we're talking about the signings of Elena Black and Priscilla Kelly, that's not rumored. That's been formally announced. When we see Ronda Rousey is essentially when she wants to return. It's entirely up to her. Austin Palmeter says, who do you think is going to win the women's Royal Rumble and the men's? I've answered this question a few times so far. For the women's, I want it to be Bianca Belair or Sonya Deville, though I'm not going to complain if Alexa Bliss wins it. For the men's, I would love it to be Cesaro. I just unfortunately don't see that as particularly likely. It seems Daniel Bryan's a more likely shout. Michael Latini says the second hour has really, really hurt NXT. I agree with you there. I think they've had to spread the talent out a bit more, and they've had to call people up from developmental areas into NXT, and they've had to rely on the same people quite a lot, which is, of course, meaning that you get an element of overexposure. It doesn't feel indie anymore. It feels main roster, and for me, that's hurt it. Screen Critic, welcome, says, I think it's helped, but then again, fans are always going to complain when NXT shifted to TV from the network, different demands, etc. That is very true. And this is one of the reasons they will have shifted to 2 hours and changed some of the ways that they've been presenting NXT. NXT now has to appeal to a casual audience, which is very different how NXT was, where they could appeal to a hardcore audience because you'd already signed up to the network. You'd already agreed to basically give them your money, so they could give you exactly what you wanted without worrying about appealing to a broad variety of people. Now they're trying to appeal to a casual audience as well, as all of WWE does. The needs are different. Anand Vaswani, welcome, says, could we see Miz again cashing in the Royal Rumble match between Drew and Goldberg and gets pinned by Goldberg? I think that's actually a lot more likely now that we are seeing a two-night WrestleMania, which means Goldberg could be sticking around. Now, admittedly, Goldberg is only down for 2 matches, but if he beats The Miz after The Miz cashes in, that certainly leaves the door open to a rematch between Drew and Goldberg at WrestleMania if someone from SmackDown wins the Royal Rumble, for example, Daniel Bryan. And I think, to be honest, someone from SmackDown is going to win the Royal Rumble, at least the men's, which leads me to believe that Alexa Bliss will be winning the Raw one. By which I mean winning the women's run from the Raw side. If you were just joining us, welcome. You have joined us for the not the Royal Rumble, the Roman Reigns show, which is our WWE SmackDown preview. Please do remember to click like on the video. That really does help me grow, and that will get me more subscribers, which will get me more chats, more live streams, more good stuff. But I did want to have a quick chat before we move on from here. You will have noticed I'm trying to plug the Twitch a lot, twitch.tv/Tom Colohue. There is a reason for that. Ultimately, Twitch monetizes a lot faster than YouTube does, which means I can actually earn money and potentially earn a living on Twitch way before I can with YouTube. With YouTube, I'm about 30% there, and I've been doing it more than a year. With Twitch, I've been doing it 2 weeks, and I'm 40% there. What that means is there is a high chance that these preview shows will stop being on YouTube after a certain time. At current projections, it's possible as early as the Royal Rumble. The watch along for the Royal Rumble will definitely be on both YouTube and on Twitch. But if you want to continue watching these shows, please do remember to pop over to Twitch, click follow there, and that's a major help to me. And it does mean we'll see a lot more of each other. Austin Palmater says it's crazy that Asuka's last title defense was Lana. It is, but to be fair, when you consider who she's defended against, that it's not just Lana, as some people have been known to say. She's defended against Charlotte, Nia Jax, Bayley, Lana, of course, Sasha Banks, and Zelina Vega. 6 different competitors since April isn't anywhere near as bad as has been suggested. Riffing says, hi, welcome back, Riffing. It's been a while. Glad to see you again. Unknown Percent says, why is Lana off television? She was pulled for Charlotte, and I believe at this point they simply don't have anything for her. They refer to it as creative hiatus when they literally just don't have anything for a certain character. It's a real shame, but it is what it is, and there's no escaping it, unfortunately. Screen Critic says, what do you think will be the women's title matches at WrestleMania? Good question. I don't think Becky Lynch will be back in time for WrestleMania. I do think we're going to see Asuka versus Alexa Bliss, but the fact that Alexa Bliss got the win over her this week on Raw suggests that they don't need the Royal Rumble for that. I think we'll see Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair, even though that's face versus face, and I think we'll see Asuka versus Alexa Bliss. Although it's very possible that we will see Charlotte versus Asuka. That seems to be where the WWE are going at the moment, but last week on Raw certainly suggested otherwise. Screen Critic also says, good luck with the Twitch growth. Thank you very much. Screen Critic has been very helpful when it comes to the overall growth on Twitch, has been very helpful in that. And joined us for quite a bit on, I believe it was Tuesday's stream. It may have been yesterday or Thursday. All my days are rolling together. Austin Palmater says, what do you think about Shayna? I'm a big fan of Shayna Baszler. I think she could be used a lot better. But to be fair, the tag team with Nia Jax, it's been working. They squashed Sasha Banks and Bayley in a really memorable match. I really enjoyed that. I've watched it again since. It had that element of Lesnar versus Cena. That really worked for me. I really enjoyed it. And for me, Shayna Baszler could do a lot more than what she has at the moment. I don't think they're giving her enough. That's not on her. That's just very much a situation that we found ourselves in, where everyone's trying to do the best they can, and some people get more chances than others. The nature of the beast, unfortunately. So, I have no comments at the moment. We are 50 minutes in on comments. That's been absolutely fantastic. Please do remember to click like on the YouTube video, follow if you are watching on Twitch, and I'm going to get on to the SmackDown preview, which once again is just over here. I'm also going to try and clear my throat because I feel like I'm going to cough. So the big story is always going to be Roman Reigns at the moment when it comes to SmackDown. Roman has picked a fight with quite a few people. We will be building towards Kevin Owens against Roman Reigns, but I think Adam Pearce might be getting beat up this week on SmackDown. I think there'll be some revenge in store for him, or at least we'll see Owens and Adam Pearce against Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. I haven't seen anything announced as of yet. If anything is announced during this stream, please do let me know because I don't want to be popping in and out of Twitter all the way. But that is our top story at the moment. But at the same time, Jey Uso might be double booked because last week he lost a match to Shinsuke Nakamura. This week, the easiest way to see that story progressing is that he would lose a match to Cesaro because it seems to me as though Jimmy Uso will be returning soon. This is what it seems to be suggesting to me, that we will see Jimmy and Jey Uso against Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro, which really will do favors for all of them because Cesaro and Nakamura have had a little tiny push, which is working in their favor. I think they can do a lot of very good things with this. As well as that, there is a number of people. I'm going to immediately jump on what Riff Thing has said here. With Apollo Crews and Jimmy Uso Will Apollo Crews and Jimmy Uso join Roman Reigns' stable? I would suggest that they will. Jimmy Uso, I think, will be pretty immediate joining of that stable. Apollo Crews may not join the stable, but will be sort of connected at a distance, which is a good place to be. You don't want to be too in that where Roman Reigns, I'm getting them so mixed up, is constantly speaking for you, even though maybe Apollo Crews could benefit from having Paul Heyman in his corner. But this is a good way to build a Paul Heyman faction without necessarily building a Roman Reigns faction. Also, as I've suggested here, I would love to see Naomi in that. Newman Co says, did Asuka's match with Alexa Bliss on Monday? I'm going to have to read this a couple of times, unfortunately. I'm aware that English isn't necessarily everyone's first language. And then obviously typos happen, so sometimes it's a little bit confusing. Did Asuka's match with may change Asuka's character? I don't see Asuka's character changing, essentially. I just don't see it. I think a lot of what Alexa Bliss was doing really leads towards that, and the way that they've connected. I think it really works. Alexander Fox Coleman, great name. Welcome, says, what's up? A bit later says, how are you doing? I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you for joining me here via Twitch. I always appreciate that. If you have any questions, please do jump in. Unless you are already here on YouTube. This has happened quite a bit on Twitch because of people coming over. They have different names and I get confused as to who's who, and end up doing the whole spiel about welcome, please, you can follow me here, this, and this, when in reality, they already do. So welcome, Alexander Fox Coleman. That is a great name. Jermaine Presley says, what is the deal with Taya Valkyrie? Do you think she's coming to WWE? I don't know what the deal is. I think the WWE is probably the best option for her at the moment. Really, when it comes to the other options, she could add a lot to AEW, but I think when it comes to a women's wrestler who has a lot to offer, WWE will do more for her career right now than AEW will. Austin Palmer says, I'm so glad Nakamura is a face again. Me too. I think they've done a really good job with him. Manny says, I've been hearing that WWE wants Melina and Eva back for the Rumble. I personally think those two could be good choices. Definitely heavily rumored that they've re-signed. There has been suggestion via PW Insider that Melina had re-signed. This was a while ago, but PW Insider tends to know who's walking in and out of the Performance Center, so there may be something there. Riffing says, should Andrade and Aleister Black pair up or both to leave WWE? I don't think Andrade will leave WWE. I think at this point he's very happy there, largely because obviously he's got a very good network around him. Aleister Black, I feel, is more likely to leave WWE, but I feel Aleister Black, for me, would do great things in New Japan. Great things. I would love to see that. And Anand says, for NXT, whom would you like to be next, Paul Heyman, guy or girl? Good use of whom. I think that would be Naomi for me. As I've mentioned, I really don't think the WWE has done anything with her. And I was going to say like anything good lately, but no, I don't think they've done anything with her. She'll probably return for the Royal Rumble, get a big pop. There's been some talk recently about Naomi's new gear, which she tends to have something new for the Royal Rumble, so we could be seeing that. So I think she'll return for the Rumble and rejoin her husband in a stable with Roman Reigns as a Paul Heyman girl. Daniel Edler says, Melina is not currently taking bookings due to a knee injury. Obviously, could just be because she's signed, but that's the line she gave upon inquiry. To be honest, when the report first came out that she had re-signed, she went in quite strong. It wasn't like Edge last year when it was, no, I'm not, and no, I'm not. He was admittedly lying, but that was fighting a spoiler. Melina's comment was a lot stronger. I don't think we'll see her re-signing with the WWE. Unknown percent. Also, just quickly, welcome, Daniel. I haven't seen your name before, so welcome. Please do remember to subscribe if you haven't and like if you can. Unknown percent says, what if Alexa wins the Rumble and challenges Asuka for the Raw Women's title? Well, then I think Asuka's losing the Raw Women's title. And to be fair, I think they could spin a very good story with that. Asuka's a character that they've done really well with in 2020 at least. Sean Garner says, who is Edge's opponent for WrestleMania? I still think Randy Orton is the most likely opponent for Edge again. Although at the moment, it doesn't seem like AJ Styles has an opponent yet. I'd like to see that. Also, Seth Rollins doesn't seem to have an opponent yet, and I'd like to see that. Lots of very good options. Riffing says, are Edge, Bray Wyatt, Batista, Big Show, and Kane considered part-timers? Edge certainly is. He has a contract that doesn't run that many dates, so his actual matches will be very limited, but he really cuts a good promo. So I can't... It's an interesting time for contracts at the moment in the WWE. Contracts in the WWE work via dates. So, for example, let's say Randy Orton is booked for 200 dates. If you're doing 5 shows a week, that's quite a lot of things there. And if you're not doing that, if you're doing 2 shows a week, then what happens to all of those extra dates? The WWE have been known, if someone's injured, to extend their contract. If they have extra dates, then they may be adding them to the contract and making sure that people can't take the time off as requested. Now, Big Show and Kane are on Legends contract. Edge is on a sort of Legends contract. Batista definitely is retired at this point. I don't believe he has any interest in returning. He only had interest in returning for one match and storyline. That has now happened. Bray Wyatt, however, is a full-timer who has requested time off and been granted it on several occasions. Jermaine Presley says, do you think Alexa Bliss wins the Rumble and then challenges Sasha at WrestleMania as a sort of swerve? That way they can save Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks for SummerSlam. These are good ideas, very good ideas. I'm not sure the Fiend back on SmackDown would be that compelling, as it were. Matt, I can see your comment, but I see you've also found the answer already. Austin Palmiter says, glad you're doing better. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I wonder if the Fiend is going to have a new mask. Interesting. There are certainly options for that. I'd like it if the Fiend continued to reinvent. That's a good way to keep a character relevant. There's a reason your horror franchises sort of become less and less compelling as time goes on. But I don't know. That works for me. John Garner says, AJ Styles said that he wants to face Triple H at Mania sometime. I don't know how interested I would be in that match, to be completely honest. And Vazwani says, do you think WWE can go out of the way and book Black as a Royal Rumble winner and have a feud with Reigns, considering Heyman's liking for Black and since Heyman is on SmackDown, so he may get his wish? Paul Heyman has no role in storylines at the moment, to my knowledge. He doesn't write them, but obviously he can make suggestions, as any performer can. His contract at the moment is purely in-ring, as it were. So, I don't know. I don't think we'll see Black as a Royal Rumble winner. I think really at the moment, I'm not aware of any injury to Aleister Black. I think maybe that's something that could happen if they were trying to make him sign a new contract and they really, really wanted him to sign. But we'll see how that goes. Alexander Fox comment says, you may know me as a WCW and ECW 2021 guy, but don't worry, I won't make any problems. Oh, I see. Well, Twitch is a very inclusive place, and you are welcome here. It was, after all, quite a funny thing to see. So bring a sense of humor. You'll fit in very well. Sean Garner, you have already asked that question, and I have already answered it for you. Matt says, since there isn't going to be a TakeOver Mania weekend, what are the chances of Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross for the NXT title taking place on Mania 37 for one of the nights? The chances of that happening, in my opinion, are very, very low. The reason that I believe that's very, very low is because the WWE have made every effort for shorter pay-per-views this year. SummerSlam was broken down into 2. Now, admittedly, Payback was a week later, but they are still 2 essential blocks that are that would have been SummerSlam. So there is no need to put NXT talent on that. I think it's also very telling that NXT talent were not at Survivor Series. Instead, they just had Raw versus SmackDown. And really, when it comes to WrestleMania, NXT will still have its takeovers. I think the better separated they are, the better for that brand. And Vazwani says, can we see Brother Nero versus The Fiend at WrestleMania? I don't know how to put this diplomatically. When's the last time Jeff Hardy had a good storyline? For me, he hasn't since Matt Hardy left. There was talk that he was going to announce signing a new contract, but that has not happened. That simply hasn't happened. He's not coming out to no more words. And that contract that he has is slowly wearing down. So what the negotiations seem like they're ongoing. I don't think he would sign one in the WWE, not announce it, but he doesn't seem to have been given anything compelling and interesting to do. Matt says, PW Insider said that they have a big SmackDown debut for Aleister Black. Can you clarify when that has been reported? Is it a recent report, and when would the debut have been reported? So, for example, is it being reported that he will debut tonight, for example? I don't want to be swapping between everything, but if you can link the article as well, that would be great. I can very quickly open it, read it, see what's going on there. Riffing says, will Sting turn on Darby Allin at Revolution? I doubt it. I think it's more likely that Darby Allin is going to turn on Sting. Riffing says, should WWE rebrand 205 Live as a developmental brand for WWE? I don't think so. They've stood by 205 Live for a very long time. We're talking 5 years roughly at this point. So it could be a number of things that they could do with 205 Live. If people aren't watching, people aren't watching, but I don't think people would tune in for it as a developmental brand, and I think the Cruiserweights then would have no show. But I think, unfortunately, the Cruiserweights aren't getting great deals at the minute. Mal says, NXT not being on Survivor Series seemed to have more to do with NXT's COVID outbreaks. That was rumoured, but I don't believe it was ever confirmed. Matt confirms that was reported today. So if it's been reported that Aleister Black is going to debut on SmackDown today, how would he debut? For example, if he's a face, will he be going straight in against Roman Reigns? Will he be taking Damian Priest's spot as Kevin Owens' best friend? That would be confusing. I don't believe they have that much in common either. I think it's more likely that Damian Priest and Aleister Black have more in common. So I'm not sure how they would use him and what he would do. I can't see him going up against Big E. I think it's more likely we'd see him maybe against Sami Zayn. But how will he make that big an impact right now? I'm really not sure. Sean Garner says, could the Women's Rumble win a challenge for the NXT Women's title? Yes, she could. That was confirmed last year, but that has been a rule for quite a while now. The WWE intentionally don't make it clear what a Rumble winner can do. Same with a Money in the Bank winner. They do not make it completely clear because then it's just easier for them to make changes as and when they feel that they need to. That's just the easy one for storylines. Michael Latino says, any guesses on who beats Kaylee Ray? I don't think anyone in NXT UK is going to beat Kaylee Ray. I think it'll be either someone who comes over from a different division or someone who is yet to sign, because she's basically run for everyone at this point. Anand Vaswani says, so if Jeff Hardy doesn't sign a new contract with WWE, we may see Hardy Brothers reunite at AEW. That's certainly possible. Yes, if Jeff doesn't sign a new contract, he's of course free to go wherever he likes. But I'm sure they are doing everything they can to make him sign a new contract. Jeff Hardy has confirmed the negotiations are ongoing, but as of yet, we haven't had an announcement of a new contract to my knowledge. Matt says, well, no, it doesn't say he's debuting tonight. Might read the article, see what I mean. Well, I don't know where the article is, and I'm not going to pop across to Twitter and go looking for it right now. I'm on a live stream. I have people watching me, and I just want to be here for them as well. Jermaine Presley says, do you know what are the plans for NXT UK? I only ask because I really wish they can do NXT UK versus SmackDown as a Worlds Collide for a B-level pay-per-view like Elimination Chamber or Fastlane. That I can say for certain is not going to happen. The plans for NXT UK are definitely to stay in the UK for the foreseeable future. I'm not sure what the viewership is. It's not great, but they are very much trying to market it as the UK's own. They really want takeovers back. Takeovers are really profitable. I've been to all of them so far. But at the minute, that just seems unlikely. Riffing says, should WWE sign Rohit Raju and Mahabala Shera from Impact and to bring the Great Khali and Sanjay Dutt? And that is for NXT India. I don't believe they can sign anyone from Impact unless the people at Impact have their contracts ended. I wouldn't like to bring Great Khali back, Sanjay Dutt maybe, but I wouldn't like to bring Khali back, but I think he will make an appearance for it regardless. I just think that's going to happen. He is, after all, a draw, kind of. But we do, of course, have Jinder Mahal, who is undoubtedly going to make an appearance. Austin Palmiter says, I think Walter will break Pete Dunne's record. I completely agree with you. That seems the most likely situation at the moment. I think NXT UK is kind of in a holding pattern. They're doing a lot of great matches, but the same champions have been there the entire year. Anand says, do you think WWE should use a rule where the Money in the Bank winner gets a championship match of his or her choice, like the United States or Intercontinental Champion match? Also, it can make storyline more wider. It can make the storyline wider, but I feel that will dilute it, because why would you challenge for the United States Championship if you can challenge for the WWE Championship at any opportune moment? There's no real reason. Matt says, I'm not a fan of this person should go to AEW when they leave WWE. Not everyone needs to go to AEW. Miro should have went to New Japan, only he's not doing it for me in AEW. I think Miro would have done great in New Japan, but if he wanted to go to AEW, that's absolutely fine. There are many reasons that you might not be getting the push to the very top. I think maybe he simply didn't want that. He just wanted to do something else a minute. Matt says, did the link post? Let me just pop over and see if I can find it. I can't see a link in the comments anywhere. I can see a message retracted, but I can't see a link anywhere. I don't know for certain if links can post, so that's a question I'll need to ask. Riffing says, it would be cool to see Survivor Series rip-off event with AEW and Impact Wrestling. Yeah. No, yeah, that's a really good idea. I would love to see that. That'd be fantastic. That'd be great. Jermaine Presley says, Aleister Black is friends with Rey Mysterio. That's going to be the guy that Rey Mysterio brings in to help them out against Baron Corbin, if not Damian Priest. That's a really good point. I think you've got some really good ideas, Jermaine. Why aren't you booking WWE? That's a good shout. Obviously, they've shown the connection between them. Rey Mysterio coming over to take on Baron Corbin, again, would certainly be an option. My concern was that he'd be bringing back Cain Velasquez. Okay, I see the link now, Matt. Let me just go and click it. It's not automatically clickable, but let me hang on. That's a Cultaholic link. You said this came from PW Insider. Cultaholic should have a link to the PW Insider article there, but I like a lot of the guys at Cultaholic. I get on with everyone there, great. But if you're reporting from PW Insider, I need to see a PW Insider link. I hope you understand that. Anand says, an update on when AJ Styles' contract will expire. I honestly have absolutely no idea. I'd imagine that's researchable, to be completely honest. But there's options. Riffing says, why NXT stars are booked to fail on the main roster intentionally. That is confirmation bias. I do not believe that to be the case. Drew McIntyre, for example, did great things on the main roster. I know not everyone has hit the heights, but you've got to remember, in NXT, you start at the bottom. And we're seeing a change in WWE in Grand, because on a call-up in WWE for a while now, you've started at the bottom and people are annoyed about it. NXT was always like that. You start at the bottom, you work your way up, then you go to WWE, you start at the bottom and work your way up. That's how it is now. So I don't think people are immediately booked to fail. I think people are booked to rise. You can't start at the top with everyone. I think Keith Lee, for example, is getting a pretty good and consistent push. He's in the picture pretty much all the time. He's just not winning matches, unfortunately. And I think there are other examples of people from NXT who've done good. Shayna Baszler is not doing that badly. Admittedly, she came in a high, went to a down, and then came back to a sort of the middle. But not everyone is immediately failing. Michael Latina says, are they staying in the Thunderdome after WrestleMania? To my knowledge, the contract goes to after WrestleMania, but they do want fans, so they may be looking to change it. Matt, I get that Cultaholic is where you read about the PW Insider comments, but I want to make sure that anyone who posts links here, I want to be as clear as possible with everyone. And that means if it's a report from PW Insider, I need to see a PW Insider report. There have been cases where, for example, there were reports attributed to Fightful that Fightful never reported. We have to be 100% clear, and I want us all to be in the practice of that. Anand says, do you think WWE missed a trick by not turning Keith Lee or Sheamus heel at Raw Legends Night? No, personally, I don't. There is still time, and ultimately, with Drew not being available right now, at least until Monday, there's no reason to. I think turning them heel on each other will have a lot less impact than turning one of them heel on Drew McIntyre. And Riffing says, everyone says that the first WWE part-timer was The Rock, but the truth is that the first modern part-timer was Hulk Hogan in 2002 to 2005, but the first real WWE part-timer was Bruno Sammartino. it depends how you define part-timer. Before the WWF went global, as it were, in Vince McMahon Jr.'s days, the current Vince McMahon, as it were, it was territorial, just like everywhere else. And you had a lot of part-time people. Part-time there was not unusual. To be fair, when you look at what's going on now, for a while you could consider Jon Moxley part-time. If he was able to travel to New Japan and come back, he may have been considered part-time. When, sorry, what's her name? I've forgotten her name. Doesn't matter. I don't have any comments at the moment. I have quite a few people watching. I will say, as per usual, just to push it again, quick thank you to Alexander Fox Coleman for following over on Twitch. I really do appreciate that. I'm trying to grow up to the good numbers at the moment. There's quite a few people in the chat right there who have not followed yet, so please do remember to follow. That's a big help to me in my growth and everything there. And the like. This is a big help for me. If you are watching on YouTube, please do remember to click like on the video. That is a huge help as well in helping me grow there. It's little things like that that really help me grow and mean potentially I could make a living. Like I could actually make a living doing this, because at the moment I have no income basically at all. I'd like to make something of this, but following on Twitch is the best way to support me right now. Matt says Black was deliberately pulled from TV as WWE wanted to give him a big dramatic debut on SmackDown. Those plans, of course, have yet to come to fruition, is what was said but doesn't say tonight. Okay, I get that you're saying that, but I've commented on this already. I don't know what that big dramatic debut could be. If it's not tonight, there is plenty of time to do that, but we will see, because we can't 100% confirm that report until it happens. You can't really 100% confirm any backstage report until it happens. A lot of reports are basically eternally unproven, just unfortunately. Alexander Fox Coleman says, don't believe everything that you read on Ringside News, because I'm one of their secret sources. I love your sense of humor. I'm glad you're here. Anand Vazwani says, how would you rate Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, RVD based on talent? If we're going purely on talent, because you know I'm not going to rate Chris Benoit all that highly based on other things. You know that. But I would rate them all extremely highly. I would put Eddie Guerrero at the top, but only slightly above Benoit and then RVD. That said, I've seen RVD live. He's incredibly adaptable, because he couldn't do his 5-star frog splash because we were in a nightclub and right above his head was all of the lighting rig. If he jumped off the top rope, he would have killed himself. So we did it on the outside, and ow, that must hurt your knees. Riffing says, are Bo Dallas and Mojo Rawley still working for WWE? Yes, they are. They are still contracted and working, and every now and then appear on WWE Main Event. I want to highlight this from Ed. I really appreciate you saying this over on Twitch. Ed is my moderator over there. I basically met him in the Going in Raw podcast streams, and he's been extremely helpful ever since. A big thank you to Ed. Twitch is free to follow, and you can enjoy the same content that you do on YouTube, but just a follow is a big help to me. Once you reach 50 follows, I can essentially attempt to monetize. Whereas on YouTube, I need 1,000 follows and 4,000 watch hours, which I'm not getting. It is far easier for me to get to 50 follows, which means these streams might not be on YouTube all that much longer. They might just be on Twitch. If you're enjoying them, please do remember to head over. Matt says, I don't actually believe it because WWE doesn't care about Aleister Black. That is your opinion. Obviously, you're entitled to believe or not believe. And you're entitled to believe or not believe that WWE doesn't care about Aleister Black. Last I reported, which was a while ago when I was still reporting, it was a case that the WWE just aren't really sure what to do. Now he's on the main roster. There is some confusion over his character, and that's why you see so many situations where there are little tweaks to his entrance and the like. Jermaine Presley says Rhea Ripley should be done right now in NXT. WWE need to bring her up and have her finish at least in the top 4 of the female Royal Rumble, if not winning it. I would have no issue with Rhea Ripley winning and going on to face Asuka or Sasha Banks. I would have no issue with that. I'm a huge Rhea Ripley fan. When it comes to that, though, it seems to be the case that she has done everything she could possibly do in NXT, but she's still there. That might be down to her choice, or it may be down to the fact that she was maybe booked to defend against Charlotte Flair or lose and then be called up. There may be a call-up coming anytime soon. That was reported. There was rumors of that. I think she'd do incredibly well in the main roster, and I think she'd get an immediate push. Sean Garner says, do Shayna and Nia get their rematch? Almost definitely. I think that's going to be a match after Royal Rumble, to say the least. Riffing says, I haven't seen Bo Dallas in WWE since 2019 and Mojo since the last summer. Mojo Rawley, I believe, his last storyline was with Riddick Moss with the 24/7 championship. He's been in and around main events since, unfortunately. Although we did all see him on TV quite recently, but he was under a mask as a part of Retribution. Matt Hendricks says, it's sad that Black has been on the main roster for nearly 2 years, been undefeated for 1 year, and has yet to sniff singles gold. Agree with you there. I think he was used pretty well early on, but it didn't happen. Manny Santos is saying, Fightful has posted an update on Aleister Black and he's not coming back. Is that Fightful or Fightful Select? Quickly, they're both Fightful. I'm just curious as to which one it is. So yes, there are contradictions there. If PW Insider has said this and Fightful has said that, there is immediate contradiction there, which confuses everything. It's, as I say, nothing is 100% until it happens. Even if you have a script and it is exactly as read out, it's rumored until it happens, and that's why here I'm always very careful to say it is rumored. I try to remember who reports things, but I see a lot of wrestling stuff and try and say it. Riffing says, why WWE don't bring Ricochet and Aleister back to NXT? That is an option. If Ricochet and Aleister Black want that, there can certainly be discussion. I've reported previously this exact thing, that it comes to a lot of people in the main roster want to at least spend some time in NXT, and NXT being 2 hours, they want time for their people, and the main roster wants to try and use the people they have. So it may be they just need to talk it out. Hello, Mags says, hola, Tommaso. You always have an interesting knee slant on saying hello. Welcome. I'm glad you're here, sir. Mags, you did the Badlands pod with Omega Luke, someone who I will occasionally, hopefully if the time works out, be sending people to on Twitch. He does a lot of Football Manager stuff, so it might be on Tuesdays when I do Football Manager stuff. But the Badlands pod is worth a check. Anan says, Dudley's, Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, the Usos, and New Day. How would you rate them? Okay, well, I'm immediately going to put the Usos and the New Day above the rest, purely for in-ring talent, because in the Attitude Era, you didn't need the same level of talent, even though the Hardy Boys, as we know, very enjoyable in their way. Now, going purely as tag teams and what they do, I would put the New Day at the top, just above the Usos. After that, I would put the Hardy Boys, then the Dudleys, then Edge and Christian. Edge and Christian went on to have very strong singles runs, but as a tag team, I would put the Dudleys just above them. Jermaine says, will we see Sasha Banks versus Reginald tonight, the first intergender match of the new year? That is planned. That was part of the preview that I would have been covering, so I'm going to cover that now. That match is planned for tonight. It'll be intergender, but it'll be intergender, which essentially means a woman beats up a man. That's WWE intergender. If you remember back when everyone beat up James Ellsworth for about 2 weeks on the circuit, as it were. Just a lot of beating up. That's what I expect to see. Reginald tapping out frantically while in the bank statement, and that will somehow result in Sasha Banks and Carmella getting another match at the Royal Rumble. That's what I believe to be the case, but that is planned for tonight. Riffing says, any update in the second AEW TV show? Heard absolutely nothing about it. Manny and Matt Hendricks both confirm that it is Fightful Select, which was reported about Aleister Black, and Manny has added on to his previous statement saying he hasn't been backstage since Selena got released. I'm guessing that is the Fightful Select report. Oh, missed one. Alan says, your favorite wrestling newsletter which you follow? I'm a PW Torch guy. Have been since the beginning. Wade Keller gave me a chance when no one else would. I sent out, I think, 15 emails. Wade Keller is the only person who replied and gave me a chance with the Roman Reigns-ometer. Anyone who doesn't follow PW Torch, I strongly recommend that you do. They've got some great things that they are working on, and really they are delivering in a great way. I also have a podcast on their VIP network once a week, hour long, Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure. We go very Bill and Ted for it. And that's mostly WWE stuff and the latest news there. And just me chatting, really, with my colleague Nick Barbati, who you may see for the watch-along at the Royal Rumble. Riffing says, will Matt Hardy manage more wrestlers? Probably. I'm really enjoying Matt Hardy right now. He's using social media really well, and he's putting other people over. That's great. I'd like to see more of it. Mike says, appreciate that, sir. So I always appreciate you coming in. You've been a very strong supporter from way, way back. I've shared a platform with you a couple of times, and I look forward to sharing more. Riffing says, why WWE uses a Big Brother cliche with Tucker Knight and Big Cass, then turning them heel and wasting them shortly after. Tucker, not sure. Not sure what happened there. I don't know if there was any plan beyond turn heel. Big Cass, however, got injured. There were big plans for him. He was the one who was going to get pushed, and Enzo Amore ended up being the one who was pushed. Big Cass was injured. And when he came back, he was pushed again against Daniel Bryan. They were pushing him hard. Matt says, just curious, do you know why WWE chose to have the NXT champion and NXT women's champion who were Andrade and Ember Moon in the 2018 Rumble? I'm curious. They wanted to advertise NXT. Essentially, having them in the Royal Rumble is a good advertisement. It allows them to look good in the Rumble, and they did certainly look good in the Rumble. Ember Moon, I believe, was severely hurt at the time, at least, selling a severe hurt. And for me, that was how they advertised NXT before it gained parity, before it reached the point where it was main roster just like everything else. Matt also says, if Alexa Bliss isn't winning the Rumble after pinning Alexa clean, I'm going to be like, what's the point? It may be that she still gets to have the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania without winning the Royal Rumble. She may not be in it, and we have a SmackDown winner. Sometimes you don't need to win the Rumble. For example, Shayna Baszler still got her match against Becky Lynch, but could have won the Rumble. They used Charlotte instead, slightly differently. Riff says, why people want Finn Balor back on the main roster for Vince to waste him again? Because people love Finn Balor, and if they don't want that much NXT, they want him on the main roster. And says, I don't remember if I would already asked this or not, but here it is. Who would you have liked to have broken Undertaker's streak? You have already asked this. There are a number of people. Randy Orton at an early point. CM Punk, for me, would also have been a really good shout. So, is there anything on the SmackDown rundown? Certainly there will be. I mean, I've only actually covered two things, but I'm going to give you guys time to get some more questions in. There's quite a few people in on Twitch at the minute, so I thank everyone for going over there. Quite a few people. Please do remember to click follow over there as well for the people watching. So let's have a quick look, and that gives us time to build up some questions here. Okay, looking at my preview. I've talked about Roman Reigns. Big E and Apollo Crews. That feud is still going, and it looks like we may see a rematch between Big E and Apollo Crews this week on SmackDown. I think Apollo Crews actually has a really good chance of winning this one. And it could be a really short run for Big E, particularly if Big E is going to win the Royal Rumble. Better to do it because of Roman Reigns' interference, helping out Apollo Crews, than hold that title all the way into WrestleMania and not do it and have like title versus title. I don't think that really suits the situation. But when it comes to that, I think Apollo Crews does have more of a chance now than before. We should still get a very good match, and that won't be a bad thing for Big E, even though 100% Twitter will go into meltdown saying Big E is being buried. It might just suggest that bigger things are coming. Right. We have the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode won the titles 2 weeks ago. We only got a promo last week about it. Street Profits might take a little bit of time before the rematch kicks in. We do seem to be back in the days of automatic rematch clauses, though. That seems to be a situation now, and a lot of repeats. I've mentioned about Sasha Banks and Carmella. That looks like it's going to endure at least until the Rumble, which suggests to me that Sasha Banks will be getting a new opponent from the Royal Rumble. But we'll see going forwards on that. We should see a continuation of Bayley's Ding Dong Hello, interviewing someone in some connection to Bianca Belair. There aren't many people in connection with Bianca Belair at the minute, so maybe she'll be interviewing the Street Profits and we'll have the Women's Championship and the Tag Team Championships connected in that manner. I think that's at least an interesting way to do it. Beyond that, we have, as previously mentioned, the Mysterios are looking for help to defeat Baron Corbin, which is a great look for Baron Corbin, but not a great look for Rey Mysterio, who is a legend. Not a great look for Dominic Mysterio, who has got wins over Seth Rollins. And not a great look for Buddy Murphy, who is where? He's flirting with the Cruiserweight Championship again. It sounds like he might be wanting to go back to 205 Live or maybe back to NXT. That could be interesting. I think he could do great things there. He certainly got a lot of eyes on the product previously, but he could also do great things on SmackDown. He hasn't had a great bite to the cherry. Cherry's a very small out. I never understood that phrase. And I believe that's all that we haven't covered. I've already mentioned Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. My belief that we are going to see Jimmy and Jey Uso back to face Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro soon, WrestleMania, if not Royal Rumble or in between. Right, what have we got? Matt says, I'm predicting The Fiend is number 30 in the Rumble and wins it, and Nakamura wins the Chamber. Could be very, very cool. Fiend versus McIntyre is something they haven't done yet and could do very good things with. Riffing says, have you ever compared Undertaker to Batman? Possible. I say a lot of things. Sometimes I run my mouth. What can I say? Matt Hendricks says, I like Big E, but I think him winning the Rumble is a good idea. He doesn't have very much momentum since splitting up the New Day. I think Big E probably has more momentum than the rest of the New Day. The New Day went over to Raw, lost their championship, and now Kofi Kingston is injured, and Xavier Woods is getting beaten up by Retribution. He got beat up by one of them last week, another one of them this week. I haven't really learned their names. I just haven't. Riffing says, is The Miz going to win the WWE title at Mania? I find that very unlikely. I think The Miz is unfortunately not going to cash in successfully. Riffing says, what happened to Buddy Murphy? I did just cover that. So I would imagine you know what I mean about that. Anon says, I think that would be a good idea of Uso getting involved and helping Big E to lose the Intercontinental title and plant seeds for Big E versus Roman Reigns. That certainly would plant those seeds. Matt says, I can see a Brett Luger Rumble 94 thing happening with Bayley, with Belair and Bayley. That could work. There are a number of things they could do with it. Belair and Bayley is one of their key things going into the Rumble. There's a lot of things they could do with it. That could be interesting. I think they could do good things with it. Riffing says, should WWE move Dominic to NXT or to the future NXT Mexico project? I think they launched him really, really well on the main roster. A lot of people were really excited. I reported a year in advance he was going to skip NXT, and now if he does go to NXT, it'll feel like a demotion. So I don't think he should, but if there is going to be an NXT Mexico project, as has been mentioned, that may be something that happens. Who knows? Riffing also says, is Eva Marie returning at the Rumble? I have no idea. There are, of course, rumors that she is signed, but as we've literally just seen in this here chat, unless it's formally announced by someone, who knows? Jermaine Presley says, I have a feeling that somebody from the Raw side is winning the Women's Royal Rumble, and the SmackDown is going to have the Elimination Chamber for the female side, the flip-flop it from last year. Certainly possible, but at the same time, Survivor Series has been Raw, NXT Raw. SmackDown, I don't believe, has ever won a Survivor Series, so I don't believe they balance it quite as well there. However, I think logically, a SmackDown winner for the Men's Royal Rumble and a Raw winner for the Women's Royal Rumble makes the most sense to me. Riffing says, will Aiden English join Miro in AEW? I don't think so. I believe Aiden English is very, very happy drinking whiskey and playing games on Twitch. And as has been proven on a number of occasions, you can earn more from Twitch than you can from the WWE right now. Zelina Vega quite possibly is earning more from Twitch than she ever did in the WWE, and she's got less physical risk. However, being in the WWE helped her establish that platform. So there are a lot of different things. A 3-year stint in the WWE, even if you're not at the top, can do wonders for your career. Matt Hendricks says, I just have a weird feeling there will be a lot of multi-person matches for Mania. There will be. There will be. It's unlikely we'll see the Battle Royals as we did last year, which means they're going to try and get everyone on the card, but they can't. They just can't, so they'll do the best they can. Ace Shock, welcome. Says, have you been watching Ben Carter on NXT UK? I unfortunately have not. I'm usually streaming during NXT UK. I stream Bloodborne over on Twitch, which is a game that I very much enjoy. I'm going to fix some of the audio issues that we had this week, but I'm usually streaming during it, so I don't watch it. Matt says, did you see WrestleVote's report about WWE wanting Cena, Goldberg, Taker, and Triple H at Mania? Yes, I did. I covered that right at the beginning of the stream, about 3 minutes in. If you weren't here at that point, by all means, once the stream finishes, jump back, start playing. It will be there very quickly. Riffing says, why WWE never made an interaction with Aleister Black and Bray Wyatt or Undertaker? Because long term, Undertaker only had a few matches planned, and they didn't want to use Aleister Black for one of them. When it comes to Aleister Black and Bray Wyatt, there was a plan for that. It just never got round to it. There may have been a plan for the future. Matt Hendricks says Becky was a SmackDown superstar when she won the Royal Rumble. That is correct. Yes, she was. I was talking about Survivor Series winners. That was always Raw. Riffing says it's Eric Rowan signed by AEW. I don't believe he is. I believe he just went to pay tribute to Brody Lee. Nothing but respect for that, obviously. I don't believe he's formally signed, but we can always find a way to ask him. Of course, there are ways to do that. He says, what does Aleister do next in WWE? Who knows? Who knows? There are so many questions, so many. Who knows? But he is still technically employed by WWE to my knowledge. So I'd like to see him. I think he was a fantastic wrestler and they could do a lot with him. Riffing says, why isn't Tay Conti listed as a Dark Order member? I believe because she isn't formally in the Dark Order. She's in a tag team with a member of the Dark Order, but I believe that storyline is still playing out. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Also says, what happened to Trey Miguel? I'm not sure what the question is. I'm not sure what happened to Trey Miguel. Is Randy Orton turned into a comic book villain? They've set up that the Fiend changes people. That's become a thing, which means if you have a feud with the Fiend, you have to change. And if they don't know how to make you change, they've got to come up with something. Riffing says, why Vince loves Raw more than SmackDown NXT? I don't think he does. I think he loves money and will do everything possible to make all of his shows successful. SmackDown right now is really successful. It's the ratings are going up. General opinion is positive. Raw is suffering. That's where his focus is, the one that's suffering. And Vazwani says, which avatar of Mick Foley did you love the most? Mankind, certainly. When I came in, it was in the middle of 1998. So Mankind was just about to win the championship. And that's a really good time for Mankind. But I'd missed a lot of Cactus Jack. I'd missed a lot of Dude Love. So Mankind was my guy. Melt says, if I was booking it, Aleister goes back to NXT the night Karrion Kross wins the NXT title and feuds with Kross. That's a really good idea. I would love to see that. He says, how will the AEW Women's Eliminator turn out? No idea. I hopefully will be surprised by that, but it's something to look forward to. Matt says, Randy Orton joined Los Conquistadores. Good one. I like that. Okay, Ace, thank you for clarifying that. I do remember seeing this. Trey on Twitter said he was more concerned over family right now. If you've read the tweets from Trey Miguel, you've seen everything Trey Miguel wants to make public. I don't know anymore. If I did, I would probably keep it to myself, because if he wants to have privacy right now, I hope everyone is willing to give him that. Riffing says, when will WWE make a Kevin and Sammy feud? When they want to. They can go back to that pretty much at any time, but right now Kevin Owens is having a great feud and doing great work. Riffing says, is Chelsea Green on SmackDown? I think so. I know she debuted and immediately got injured, but I don't remember which show she debuted on. I do believe it's SmackDown, but who can tell? Who can tell? Right, I'm out of questions at the moment, so there are a couple of things I do want to cover before we go on. Most notably, plans for the Royal Rumble. Question I have for all of you, and I want you to answer it in the comments straight away. Are you planning to watch the Royal Rumble live? Pardon me. If so, do you want to do a watch along? Do you guys want to jump in here? I live alone, and I have a yearly tradition that I can't do this year. My yearly tradition involves two friends of mine coming round to watch the Royal Rumble. We draw numbers out of a hat, 10 numbers each for the Royal Rumble. When that number is eliminated, we drink a shot. There are 2 Royal Rumbles. Yes, we have 20 shots in the night. 20 shots. Matt's watching. I look forward to seeing your opinions on it. For the Royal Rumble, that's what I want to do. I want to find something that means I'm not at home watching it alone. So, Anand loves the idea of a watch along. Well, by all means, keep an eye on YouTube, keep an eye on Twitch. Obviously, follow over there if you want to watch there. I'm doing a full watch along on both YouTube and Twitch. It will start 1 hour before the pre-show. So I'll be doing a pre-show to the pre-show. There will be a number of guests. I have a number of people signed up who will be dropping in for half-hour slots at different times. And you'll be getting to meet plenty of people. And in addition to that, maybe some of you guys want to jump in as well, because I can get you into the stream at any point. I can literally send you a link and get you right here with me for 5-10 minutes. Just a short thing. I also want to do a predictions contest. So anyone who wants to make their predictions, film a video for me. 45 seconds, 60 minutes. Jump in, send it to me. I will play it right here on the stream with your predictions. I've got plenty of them coming through. Again, lots of surprise guests for that as well. So I think that would be a great way to enjoy the Royal Rumble, even if in my situation, at least, I am alone. Essentially, we're looking at a 7-hour stream because there'll be a pre-show to the show, a pre-show in the show, the actual show, and then a post-show as well. So I am planning to stream all of that. So if you guys can send me 45-second, 60-second prediction clips, that gives me a toilet break. So I'd really, really appreciate that. I have a few more questions. Let's jump in them. I want to quickly highlight a few people. Matt says he always watches the Rumble live. Anand said he'd love to do a watch along. We are going to be doing that, sir. So by all means, jump in. It will be live and in glorious Technicolor. Let's see what we've got. Matt says, sounds like AEW might use more of the Joshi wrestlers for that tournament. Why not? You've got the people. Might as well use them. Michael Latina says, who would you want Roman to go against after KO? I wanted Nakamura, but I think Cesaro for me is who I want most. Riffing says, was Dabakato sent back to NXT? I don't believe he's been sent anywhere. I think, to be honest, at the moment, they're just not sure what to do with him. So he's on creative hiatus like many people. Oh, thanks, Matt. Matt says, update, Mayu Iwatani is doing fine again. Would you be able to let us know the source of that as well? Just who is reporting it? Is it Mayu Iwatani herself? Matt says, I'm coming on 6 years on being a sub to the WWE Network. We must have signed up at roughly the same time. Because me too. I signed up again in 2014. Say again, doesn't feel my first signed up. Riffing says, why has WWE never signed Taylor Hendricks and Mandy Leon? It could be because they didn't want to. It could be that the WWE didn't want to. Who can really tell at this point? Jermaine says, will Chelsea Green be in the Rumble, and what are WWE's plans for Chelsea Green and Vanessa Bourne? You got me. It doesn't look like they have any. To be completely honest, I don't seem to have any plan. Matt says, just curious, do you think there will be any more matches added to the Rumble or just 4 to keep the pay-per-view short? I think there will be a couple added, but I think they'll still keep the pay-per-view short. I think there'll be quite a few in the pre-show. So I think we're going to be looking at a tag team title match, SmackDown 1, maybe SmackDown Women's Championship as well, and then probably a Raw Women's Championship match. If Alexa Bliss isn't winning it, it'll be between Asuka and Alexa Bliss. That will be our hint going into it. Ananda said, an update on Braun Strowman. To my knowledge, he's injured, and that's all we know at this point. And A-Shock says, how would you turn Cesaro face to feud with Roman? I just stopped telling you he's a heel. Same way they've done with Nakamura. I just let him have great matches against heels. That's how I do it. Stick him against Jey Uso now and see what happens. Matt says, it was my issues at the more recent Stardom shows. Thank you for letting us know that, Matt. And Riff says, is Undertaker really retired, or is he going to return at the next Saudi show? Undertaker is retired until Vince McMahon says otherwise. WrestleVotes alluded to that. I've been saying it for about a year. If Vince McMahon asks The Undertaker to wrestle a match, The Undertaker will wrestle a match. It is unfortunately that simple. I think he's doing a lot of risk to his health, but that's what he's choosing to do, unfortunately. I'm going to end the stream there. If you're watching on YouTube, please do remember to click like. If you're watching on Twitch, please do remember to follow. There are quite a few people in the Twitch right now. If you guys would remember to just click follow before you head off, you can watch more on Twitch than you can on YouTube. You can basically watch the Raw and SmackDown previews, but you also get gaming content, Football Manager on Tuesdays, Bloodborne on Thursdays, and there will be more. I'm looking at potentially wrestling booking games. There's a couple I'm looking at, a couple of simulators there. And in addition, you'll get a couple of surprise streams as well. So thank you to everyone who has jumped in. Thank you to everyone who has asked questions. And thank you to everyone who subscribes, who follows, who makes sure to watch. I am grateful to all of you for essentially coming here, and by watching this, you are supporting my future. So a huge thank you. Remember, subscribe and follow if you haven't already, like if you can, and thank you everyone for joining me here.